So from the time I drew breath to now in my 59th year in this planet, I fell in love, or I still love, the greatest team of all time in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys. However, the Dallas Cowboys are not America's team to an extent that they had success in the 70s to warrant that. Whatever the Kansas City Chiefs do tomorrow, so they're the greatest NFL dynasty of all time, they're not. From the time of the Immaculate Reception in 1972 to the defeat of the Rams in the 1980 Super Bowl, there's only one dynasty that really matters, because this is a team that outlasted the Raiders, outlasted Dallas, outlasted the Vikings, outlasted marginal teams like the Rams, who were one-year wonders. It's got to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, when Chuck Noll arrived, the team had a terrible first season, which led them to draft number one, the great Terry Bradshaw. Now, Terry Bradshaw, say like Hollywood Henderson, couldn't spell cat if you gave him the C and the T, but what he provided to Pittsburgh was the big play combination. With the arrival of Lynn Swann, with the arrival of John Stallworth, Frenchie Fuqua, Franco Harris, Rocky Bleier, the defense led by Jack Lambert and Mean Joe Green, they could beat you on defense and beat you on offense. Now, the first Super Bowl was sort of not the harbinger of a dynasty. In 1975, the Fran Tarkington Vikings were a little bit old in the teeth. They were lucky to survive past Dallas and the other contenders in the NFC, and Pittsburgh that year bet them with defense. But in 1976 Super Bowl, a lot of people thought that Roger Staubach and the marquee Dallas Cowboys, led by a bastion of top players, were going to outlast Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl. But Pittsburgh proved that they could play late in the contest using Swann and Stallworth and their myriad of weapons to do it. And Dallas's 21-17 loss was pretty well a harbinger of what was going to happen a couple of years later in probably the best Super Bowl of all time. Now, the only reason they couldn't get past the Raiders in the 1976, when they were so injured, Rocky Bleier and Franco Harris, sort of 40% of their offense was injured. And the next year, they were kind of flat against Denver. I think it was Denver's year, and Craig Morton, who had a lot of experience as Dallas's number one quarterback, who helped him in the 71 Super Bowl against the Colts, and gave the Colts the Super Bowl by throwing a key interception. Now, these Pittsburgh teams wouldn't give up points. The only points they would give up were ones that were basically minuscule, maybe a field goal or a late touchdown. I think what happened with Pittsburgh, it became the reputation. No one gave a shit about the Pittsburgh Steelers until Terry Bradshaw arrived, and that's what happens with a key dynasty. I'll give an example. No one cared about the Denver Broncos until John Elway arrived, even though he played in the 78 Super Bowl. So with Dallas winning the 78 Super Bowl, maybe because Pittsburgh didn't have a chance to rebuild. It was a bad year. By 1979, the Steelers were ready to take back their mantle. See, with the Patrick Mahomes dynasty with the Chiefs, this is a very well-coached team, but they only have really two or three players that really stand out. Pittsburgh had 15 or 20 players, both sides of the ball, that were legendary, either the best defensive players of their era or the best offensive players of their era. Like, for Dallas to beat any team, they needed both wide receivers to work great. But with Stallworth and Lynn Swann, especially in that 79 Super Bowl, where Lynn Swann had another one of his big catches, or Stallworth against the Rams in 1980 Super Bowl, it was all a team effort. Now, give it all, like, the NFL of 2025 is a weak sister compared to the 1970s. 1970s, you had San Diego, you had the Colts, you had the Bills, you had the Bengals, okay? You had the Steelers, you had the Broncos, you had the Raiders, you had the Eagles, you had the Cowboys, you had the Cardinals, all the teams with strong quarterbacks. You had the Washington Redskins, okay, Joel Theismann and all that. Every game was an event. The top 12 teams in the league could have easily won the Super Bowl, but they knew that they could beat each other, but they couldn't beat Pittsburgh. All the key games that Pittsburgh played in the regular season, in that era, they usually won. If they lost, it was because of injuries or bad calls. Kansas City is a lot of weak sisters. There are not very many strong teams in the NFL anymore compared to what the 1970s was. There are no marquee quarterbacks. And the system now, you can't touch the quarterback. You can't touch you can't touch the running back. Back then it was dog eat dog. I mean, we know that Terry Bradshaw was almost killed a couple of times in the Super Bowl. Dallas got him in the 76 Super Bowl and in the 79 Super Bowl, where basically he was looking at abject death. Like the Doomsday defense against Mean Joe Green and the Steel Curtain, there is no comparison. There's no way a Patrick Mahomes team head-to-head against the Dallas Cowboys or the Redskins or the Steelers or the Oilers, okay, with Earl Campbell, or the Broncos could even last to a certain level. Their head would be cut off. So when you say the media says dynasties, there's only several teams that can be considered pure dynasties. The Boston Celtics of the Bill Russell era, the Guy Lafleur Montreal Canadiens of the 70s, even though there was a mini dynasty with Belleville before that, the dynasty of Maurice Richard in the late 50s, early 60s, the Gretzky one. But the true dynasty of the NFL, no doubt. And the Dolphins did good. We have to talk about the Dolphins too. But the Dolphins got their defense. But as soon as Pittsburgh started to rise, the Dolphins couldn't compete. 17-0 in the back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. That are a really good team. They were playing a system, just like the Dallas Cowboys. So what I want you to do, ladies and gentlemen, before you watch the big game tomorrow and give all this praise to Kansas City Chiefs, what I want you to do, watch the 1976 Super Bowl on YouTube, watch the 79 Super Bowl on YouTube, and see the quality of Dallas against Pittsburgh. Could Patrick Mahomes at his best and the Chiefs beat either of those teams? Pound for pound, no. Say like Sterling Sharp, no. So, ladies and gentlemen, revisionist sports history is a new thing. CNN said, if they win tomorrow, they're the greatest dynasty of all time. No team ever won three straight titles. Well, technically, Pittsburgh could have won 6 straight titles were it not for injuries and bad decisions against Denver. These were AFC title games that they lost or key playoff contests. So by the time Bradshaw was getting very injured and very tired, the early 80s, but the 1970s was all about the Steelers because nobody gave a shit about the Steelers, and all of a sudden Dallas was strong, 49ers were strong, just before Joe Montana. And another thing too, there's no way Patrick Mahomes could have bet the Joe Montana 49ers of the 80s. There's no way. I watched all their games. I watched Patrick Mahomes, and it's like a college team. The best college team in the States with the best of CFL team. I mean, I don't even think he's as good as Andy Calvillo. Yes, he won a few Super Bowls, but who did he beat? Could he have defeated Dan Fouts? Could he have defeated, Ken Anderson? Could he have defeated Joe Ferguson and O.J. Simpson? I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. So there's only one true dynasty. I'm a Dallas fan. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is no argument. They are the best of all time. And, because quality of opposition, quality of results, and quality of fan base. No one gives a fuck in Canada really about Kansas City. Why do you think there's so many Pittsburgh Steelers fans around? And he still won more Super Bowls after that dynasty, but that's another story altogether. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here with our NFL podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.